Hello, good evening, and welcome to the United Stand. My name is Levin2K, and I'm joined by three wonderful guests tonight. We have a brilliant show coming up for you, and plenty to talk about. Some controversial topics, but we'll get to that. I want to start off by introducing everyone. First of all, I've got the wonderful Beth back from holiday. How you feeling, Beth?
I'm feeling good. Stuck in isolation for 5 days, so I'm sure you'll see a lot more of me. But yeah, back from holiday. Wish I was still there, but I'm back with a gang, so you know.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Plenty to talk about. Jordan, I know you're recovering from some illness right now. We'll give you a break for today, a bit, not a full break, but we'll let you easy for tonight. How you feeling though, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. First time I've been on since the Sancho signing. Absolutely gassed. Can't wait for the new season. And lovely to spend Sunday evening with you wonderful people.
Oh, you always know the right things to say. You always know the right things to say.
He's trying to be nice before he's nasty, you know.
It could get nasty.
Beth knows.
But look, one of the nicest people I've ever met on earth. And I can't believe he's actually doing the show live from Old Trafford right now. It's the one and only Kev.
Dedication, mate. I'm like the Mancunian Fabrizio Romano. I'm here for your pleasure, joining live from Old Trafford. Look, lovely scene, lovely weather. Great to be part of this.
The budget must have got bigger recently, I tell you what.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to this one. Guys, if you're watching right now, be sure to like, comment down below, share the video as well. Let's get some people in there to watch. There's going to be some controversial topics coming up. I'm sure there will be. Now, look. Let's start off, first of all, because I think the big thing that is on the minds and the hearts of many United fans at the moment is obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's new contract, which was revealed right after the Sancho deal. In an attempt, I think, to almost, mask it, right? There was so much positivity with the Sancho deal. And of course, the contract, they just tried to sneak it in the next morning. Nobody's going to notice. But no, people noticed. And as usual, when it comes to Ole, the fan base was very divided on it. And I just want to know everyone's sort of initial thoughts when they saw the contract being announced. It was rumored that it was going to be announced right before, after the Europa League game, but with how that went, definitely good thing they didn't announce it then. So I'll start off with you, Beth. What did you sort of think when you saw the contract announced?
I wasn't surprised, and we knew he was going to get a new contract anyway because he was running out of time on his contract anyway, and he wasn't going to get sacked because of what he did last season. Getting second, it is an improvement. And after the Europa League final, we all heard about that meeting that they went into on what needs to improve, what players he wants to get, and I don't think the board would have gone in, tried to sign the players all he wants if they were thinking like it was the end of the road for him. So I wasn't surprised about the contract. What I was a bit surprised about is the massive reaction to the contract, because in my eyes, it doesn't really matter to us at all, because if he struggles next season and doesn't have a great season, he will end up getting sacked anyway, despite his contract. It's not our money that's paying him out. So it doesn't really matter, because if he does do badly, he probably will get sacked anyway. So the contract, for me, I don't see it as a massive deal the same way that everyone else was. Do I think he deserves a contract after the slow progression that he has had? Yes, it has been slow progression, but it is progression. And I think the way the team has changed, the atmosphere, even the way we play football, it's not how I want it to be yet, but it is slowly improving more and more as he builds his team and he gets better players. And I think the more players he gets, now in introducing Varane, Sancho, that are his squad, one, the less excuses he has, so he kind of has to start doing a lot better than what he has been doing. And don't get me wrong, he does have to start doing a lot better. But two, I think it gives him more opportunity to play the style of football that he wants to eventually play, and hopefully more chance to actually win something. And I think that's exactly what he needs to do next.
You said you think he deserves the contract, and I'm sure that the topic of deserving it will come up. Jordan, I'm sure you saw the announcement. What were your thoughts? Did you feel like he deserved the contract?
Yeah, I thought it was a tactical announcement straight after the Sancho. Well, there was good vibes in the air. Like you guys said, they were going to do it after his first trophy, but obviously that didn't happen, did it, Beth? I feel like I've put last season behind me, and as a United fan, we have to support the manager that is in charge. So that's what I'm doing. I'm very optimistic about the new season, very excited, like I am at the beginning of every season. I feel like there is no grey area now going into the season. Hopefully he gets the players that he wants, the first choice or the second choice, and then it totally is on Ole and that management team to deliver. He would have had long enough that we can't make excuses as much as we want it to work. The fairy tale of the legend that is Ole returning us to our former glories. There will be no ifs or buts this season. He has to deliver, or we find out if he is the right man or not.
Kev, you got a big smile on your face. I'm sure you saw the announcement as well. Are you of a similar opinion to Jordan? Do you feel like it is still that make or break, or are you happy he's got the contract and looking forward to the next couple of years under Ollie?
Do you know what? I totally agree with what Beth's just said. For me, contracts in football mean very little. But at the same time, listen, Cristiano Ronaldo, I remember the day he signed a 5-year new contract back in, 2007, 2008, absolutely buzzing. I've got another 5 years of Ronaldo. He was gone the next season. So in that sense, contracts in football do not mean much. And Levin, you touched on a great point by saying Manchester United didn't offer Solskjaer this contract. They probably had it primed up for a while. It wouldn't have been a great time after the Europa League final. And people will say that wasn't a successful season. The thing was, United fans, some United fans are trying to base our season last season off winning the Europa League, which to me, it doesn't mean it's a success if we win it. We got knocked out of the Champions League at the end of the day to get into the Europa League. So to me, that was failure. So how some United fans can judge United's season on if we'd have won that trophy, it was a brilliant season for Solskjaer because we'd have won the Europa League and we finished second, we're in the Champions League. So in that sense, you have to weigh things up. Listen, there's that lad, what was it, Pete Molyneux, who held up the famous banner when Sir Alex Fergie was in charge of United, Tara Fergie, thanks to the memories, 3-4 years of whatever. You have to look at these things. And I am not comparing Solskjaer to Sir Alex Ferguson, but Klopp needed time at Liverpool. Managers need time. And I have seen progression in this squad. I get loads of shit on social media from people that come. The new one now is that if you're celebrating and happy that Solskjaer got this contract, that you're, anti-Manchester United. You don't want what's good for the club. How does that even work, man? We're all United fans. We want United to succeed and do well. Me, Beth, I think even Ricky to an extent has always touched on the fact that we do not want to press the reset button. We've had it under David Moyes, under Louis van Gaal, under Mourinho. And now it's almost like, right, he's getting in the players he wants. I've always said, give him time, let him do his stuff. But I totally agree, man. Next season, the honeymoon period is over for Solskjaer. Yes, he's got this contract, but we go in next season. And for me, if it's not successful, then yes, you start looking at it and thinking, right, well, what are the possibilities and what can you do to change it? But at the minute, he's in charge. He's bringing in good players. A lot of the signings he's brought in have been good, so I'm happy with that, mate.
I think you touched on something really good there, right? Because when you mentioned the Europa League final thing, I sort of remember saying to people at the time, like, winning the Europa League final didn't tell us much about our season. Whether, like, in hindsight, right, it was always like, it wasn't ever going to tell us much about our season. It was more so going to tell us much about Ollie, right, as a manager, right? Like, I don't think, winning it, of course, it's nice to win silverware. It's great experience for the players and whatnot. But I get what you're saying, right, where it's like, you have to remember.
It's one game.
Yeah, it was one game.
How can you judge a manager off what do you sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after the Europa League final? Because we got beat on penalties and David De Gea missed a penalty. It's like, it's fine lines. You can't turn around and say, well, that season was utter dog shit. Let's get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on that basis.
Yeah, Kev. I agree with you, Kev. It isn't about the fact that he didn't win the trophy. I think where the grey area comes is the way we lost. The fact that changes weren't made, he didn't manage the game the way he should have. That's where the grey is. So I'm sitting in the middle. I'm not sat here saying I want Ollie out or whatnot, but I can understand why people have frustrations about that one-off game. The fact that we finished second and would have won a trophy, I think Ollie needed it more so for himself, as well as some of the players, to get that hoosie off of his back because of the semi-finals that he'd been to previously. But I think it's more about the fact that he didn't make the changes during the game, and then we went on to losing on penalties.
Yeah. To be fair as well, the fans have seen it quite a few times under Ollie. Now we've got to semi-finals, we've got to finals, and if I'm going to be completely honest, obviously I do want Ollie to continue, and I do think he's going to learn from it. I don't think he's been well equipped in them finals and semi-finals that we've had. I don't think he's had the matureness of an elite manager and been able to make them decisions. I think that has lacked, and I think it has shown. But do I think overall, over a period of time, he's a good manager over the course of the league completely? Does he lack that slight winning edge at the minute? Yes, he does. But I think that grows with one more losses you get. Through every loss, it is a learning experience as well. And he's learned from them games. He will have learned from the Europa League final that he shouldn't have let it go on. He shouldn't have let it go to penalties. He should have made them decisions that can make or break the game. He should have done that. And that's why managers who have been around for a long time are very good in these finals and semi-finals, because they know the game more. And I think now he's played more of them big games as a manager, not as a player. He's automatically going to get better going into that. And with all of his other attributes, that's what you expect this season. You expect him to have learned from his mistakes in the past, and you expect him now to be able to apply them skills to the games that we're going to have, because we are going to have massive games this season. So with that squad, you cannot not get to big games this season, because he'd get sacked before he even got there. So we will have them big games under Ollie, and I think that's going to be a massive decider in whether the fans go for or against him, because another year of losses in semi-finals and finals, fans aren't going to take that again, because it is heart-wrenching to get to them finals knowing you are the better team and not get over the line, and that's what he needs to do next year.
Yeah. I think that is why people are so critical of him, right? Because as much as Kevin, you said like you can't judge someone off a one-off game. At the end of the day, I think people look at the best managers in world football and they say to themselves, or at least they believe to themselves, like, Pep would win me that game, right? Like, if I needed a manager to win me a one-off game, I'd pick blah, 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 so-and-so, so-and-so. And I think people look for those qualities in Ollie. And that's why, like, I always say, right, when people ask me, am I Ollie in or Ollie out? I always say I'm Ollie out. And that's not because I'm, standing outside of his door banging, saying, yo, I want you out of my club now. Like, it's not that. It's just like, ultimately, when it comes down to it, do I think he's a good enough manager for United? I don't think so, right? There's things that he showed me that make me think I don't think so. Does that mean I'm not going to support him? Like Jordan, you said earlier, like, at the end of the day, we all got to support him. And I agree, like, we do have to support him. We have to support the team. And we have to hope that if you don't believe him, you have to hope he can prove you wrong, right? But yeah, I think great points all around. I think we'll get more to the Ollie stuff, because last season... Levin,
I'll say one thing, man. You're saying Pep Guardiola's the man for the one-off match or whatever. Champions League final. Yeah, that worked out well. But no, I know your point, mate. I know your point, but just had to get that one in there.
Okay, so I'll rebuttal to that real quick though, Kev, because I think the big thing is, as much as that is true, like, Pep is a bottle in the Champions League final. We've seen that now clearly, but I think the big thing is that it's more so like the qualities in a manager where, Pep got so many things wrong in that final. I'm not here to analyze a Manchester City game, right? But I think you look at the mistakes Ollie made, and people think, right, whether it's true or not, but people believe in their hearts a top manager wouldn't make those mistakes, right? Where you look at him not making subs and you think a top manager wouldn't do that, right? Like, these are the kind of things people look at, right, when they're comparing him to other managers and they say, no, he's not a top manager. So that's what I'll say to that. Wrong name. I used the wrong example there. You did catch me out. But I do want to take things back a bit, right? Because I want to talk more about Ollie and last season and things looking towards this season. You guys know I'm quite young. I'm 19. I wasn't in school too long ago, right? It was only a couple of years ago I'm in school. So in school, you hand in a piece of work. Your teacher tells you what went well, even better if, right? So I want to get some WWWs and some EBIs from all of you guys on Ollie from last season, because, you bring in the positive and the negative, what you thought went well, what you thought didn't go too well. I'll start off with you, Kev, because, you seem really happy about this one, but taking you back to the school days.
Oh, don't even go on about my school days, man. They were not successful. Do you know what? I don't even know what you're on about. What are PPIs? Is that some kind of insurance or something?
No, not PPIs. Look, so give me a what, like, the one thing to you from last season, right, that you think to yourself, Ollie did that really well. Like, that was one thing that Ollie, he got that really well. And then one thing that you think it'd be even better if he did this next season.
Right. So signings, I would say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's signings so far. Maybe Dan James I look at and go, can't really see that one. But Fernandes, great signing. Harry Maguire, I think, will get better and better. If United can get Varane in, then Maguire and Varane, I think, will be, it could be the new Vidic and Rio kind of partnership. I do think that in-game management, I've always said it's been a criticism of Solskjaer, but for some reason, and I'll go back to what I just said before about Pep Guardiola, seems to get one over on Pep Guardiola. It's probably because of the football that Manchester City play. They set out, and it's almost like we are going to play this same brand of football every week. United sort of match up to that and are quite happy to sit back and then play on their counter-attack. For me, it is all about signings and getting the players in. There is a hell of a lot of deadwood. The managers that have come through the door, some of the riffraff we've had at Manchester United, the likes of Phil Jones still hanging on for some reason. There's players there that still need to be shifted on, but I'm looking forward to the new season. So I will say that Solskjaer's signings have been good. In-game management to an extent. I'm certainly not going to back it. There has been games where we've all been pulling our hair out. Why has he not made a change? If I go back to the Europa League final, my defence of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is that for me, maybe 9 players didn't turn up that evening. I probably only think Scott McTominay, who was absolutely unbelievable on the night. It was almost like if you had 11 Scott McTominays on the pitch, we would have won that game. And for some reason, it just didn't happen. You can say it's to do with game management. A lot of players had a rest, a couple of weeks off before they went into that. So that would be my criticism of him.
Okay. Jordan, or what went well and even better if?
Yeah, some good points there, Kev. I think what we were talking about before with the England players who missed the penalties, if there's a certain type of manager you want him to go back to, it's someone like Ole. I feel like the way he handled the Paul Pogba situation, where my head had gone. I was like, listen, drop him. He should never see United shirt again. How has he let his agent come out and said that the day before a big game? And Ole was like, relax, calm, settle down, spoke to him, played him, and he then produced his best form. So I thought that man management that he showed was excellent. I don't wholly agree with Kev's point about transfers. I think there's been a lot of players, whether or not it's one of the things me and Beth always go back and forth on. When it's a player that has come in and has done well, we say it's Ole signing. When it's a player that comes in and doesn't play, doesn't get minutes, hasn't worked out, we turn around and say Ole didn't want him. You've got to take the ref with a smooth for me. Now, listen, guys, you got to call it like it is. You can't turn around and say he's amazing. He's been amazing in the transfer windows. When you look at the use of Ahmed, you look at Dan James, you look at Van der Beek.
Come on, you look at the last window, Jordan. I don't think any of the last window was his signings. Honestly, I think his first window was, and I think Bruno Fernandes was, and I think this window is now. But I think last year, honestly, we made such a mess of that transfer window. It was just a massive rush at the end, and I don't think Ole was any part of that. He wanted Sancho last season, he didn't get him. He wanted Grealish last season, and Aston Villa ended up staying in the Premier League, so they bought in Van der Beek and they rushed and got Ahmed and Palestri last season. Do I think Ahmed's going to go on to be a great player? Yes. Does Palestri look like he has got potential? Yes. But I think we do know who's more or less Ole's signings. We can't set it in stone, but we can see it from an outsider's perspective.
Was Ahmed Ole's signing?
Yeah, I believe he was.
So why didn't he use him more?
Because he's how old? This is the thing. I do think he should have used him more. But how old is he? 18, 19? Like, you can't throw someone like that in every single week.
We're not asking him to play every single week, but he should have used him.
Other players, but he should have used him more. But at the same time, he was going with players he trusts because he was desperate to keep that job and he needed to get results. And that's why we saw a lot of games where he was keeping Rashford on and it was dragging out. And these are things that he does need to improve. But because he hasn't used Ahmad as much as you want him to, you're going to say his signings are bad.
I'm not saying that. No, I didn't say that. I said I don't wholly agree with it. I think that you have to look at the whole picture. What we do as fans, there seems to be this thing that Ollie's great in the transfer window, but there are players, he spent a lot of money, there are players that haven't delivered for him. And I don't think he's given enough time, or within the coaching team, he hasn't brought their game on enough. I really don't.
Can you say that after a year, though? After a year? A year of being there? Or do you not need to give it a bit longer? Because I agree with you on the fact that I think Donny and Ahmad 100% should have had more minutes. That's one of my things I would say to improve, Ollie, but I don't think that defines him on transfers.
No, it doesn't. That's what I said.
I think that's his coaching ability and trust in his players.
But that's why I said I don't wholly agree. I'm not saying I completely disagree. I don't wholly agree. I think there's two sides to it. That is the other side to it. I think that, yes, Harry coming in, Bruno has been great and whatnot. But I do feel like there's other players that he's brought in that he should have used more. That's just my opinion looking at last season. I think we got to the end of the season. I feel like he didn't use the whole of his squad enough during the periods when he should have, which is why they seem to run out of legs towards the end of the season.
I agree with you on that point, but do you not think that goes under like making in-game decisions and using the squad rather than transfers? Because I think the players, even though he's not used Ahmad and Donny enough, they are good players to add to a squad.
They are good players, but he hasn't used them. So that then falls back to the transfers, and it is a bit of the in-game management. You're saying if they weren't his players, he still could have used them. He hasn't used them. It's a squad game.
Important point of the season, wasn't it? For Solskjaer, listen, I remember doing fan forums where there was people in the live comments saying, Ahmad, why is he not getting a chance? Ahmad this. All right, just settle down. Listen, we paid a lot of money for him. He's a young lad, right? Scores the goal against AC Milan and that looks lively. But when it comes down to the business end of the season, I think for me, it's very difficult. And I'm not saying Solskjaer hasn't got faith in him, but it's like, you know, Solskjaer's job's basically on the line and we're in a results business. It's a hard arena to throw Ahmad in and go, right, you know, you go. He's going to be sort of subjected to substitution appearances along the line, isn't it? You've got to ease him in. You can't really just throw him straight into the arena and go, right, go for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it is about managing those 15, 20 minutes here and there, the cup games, etc. Let's see what he's about. I don't think that was done enough. It definitely wasn't done enough with Donny. He came to us with good pedigree. And we haven't seen the best of him. So I hope going into next season that we do use our squad. We are very, very squad heavy with the amount of bodies that we're carrying. There's no reason for players to be playing as many games as certain players have played. We've got to try and free up minutes to give other players a chance.
Yeah, nah, I agree. And like with the in-game management thing, is the big thing for me when watching games this season is it always just feels like he is just scared to sub certain people off, right? Where it's like, you know, for one, his job has been under pressure. Last season, it's like people forget during December time when people are saying Poch needs to be coming in and he needs to be out, like he was under pressure. And I think he sort of has the thing where, you know, if you play any games like Football Manager or FIFA, you'll get where it's like you don't want to sub off your best player because at any given moment they can score. Like, you know, you might not want to sub off Rashford when he's having a bad game because Rashford could be having a bad game and then he could score, right? It feels like he has that fear there when you watch that. I'll be honest though, with the signing thing, at the end of the day, you know, a manager's signing off on the players. It's not like Ed Woodward's bringing in Donny like, hey, by the way, you know, start pre-season or start the season. This is Donny, by the way. I know you don't really know him too much, but, you know, he's yours. Like, Ollie would have been told, yeah, you know, whether it be he wanted Grealish, which I think most people know he probably did want Grealish, right? But he would have been told, look, Grealish too expensive. We can't get that, but we can get Donny van der Beek. Like, and at the end of the day, he said yes, right? And so it's like you expect
because what are you going to do? You're going to say no and stick with Pierre, or are you going to go with Donny van der Beek? There's not really that much of an option. Yeah, he should have used him more, but is he going to just say no to an improvement?
But then you're acting. But again, if that's a fair point, if Donny isn't a good player, it's not like Donny's not.
Yeah, a bad he should be playing more though. That is the flip side of it. If instead of Donny, it was like a dirt footballer, like someone like League One level or something, I'd be like, yeah, like it's unfair. And even though I still do think, because that's a criticism I have of like the people above Ollie, where it's like, well, you should be giving a manager at Manchester United his first options, right? Like, let's, you know, we can talk a long time about the people above Ollie, but in some of these specific scenarios, it's not like these players are bad. Like Donny's good, like Ahmad has shown he's good. Like these players should have been used more, and we can go on about this all day long. But look, Beth, what went well, your EBI. I'm gonna do it a little bit differently. So I'm gonna do categories, and I'm gonna give him like an A, B, C. Okay. Exactly.
I like this.
So in-game management for me is like C minus to D. Personally, I don't think he has great in-game management at the moment. I think, like you said, he needs to have a bit more, to put it plainly, some more balls next season with his substitutions. I feel like he was a little bit under pressure last season, hence why he relied on his favourites a lot. I think if he does that this season, it's quite worrying because he's just got this contract extension. And I think he does need to put a bit more faith in his squad, and he needs to make decisions that are going to change the game instead of making the safe subs or just not making subs at all. Because you see, for example, Thomas Tuchel in the Champions League final, they were winning 1-0. He takes his best player off, Mason Mount, towards the end of the game. City could have scored. He could have needed him for penalties. Yeah, he makes that decision, and that's what elite managers do. They make them tough decisions, and he needs to start doing that. So for me, I don't think Ollie's the type that would make that decision yet. He needs to be. Transfers so far, I'd give him an A, to be honest. I think his transfers have been really good. I think.
What? An A?
Come on, Maguire, great half. Bruno Fernandes.
Wan-Bissaka.
I don't think Wan-Bissaka's
Jadon Sancho.
level yet, but he's still a good
Cavani.
player. The only player I don't think who is worked out for him so far is Dan James to an extent, but he's still a squad player. Like you've seen,
that's why Jordan's trying to
interrupt Mourinho, Van Gaal.
No,
we've seen us bring like to Fellaini in, for God's sake. You know what I mean?
Look, for transfers, I
We've
don't
got Bruno
know.
Fernandes under Ollie.
You can't put it down just to one.
We might
one
if we
player.
pull Varane, come on, it is an A. If we pull Varane off, it is an A. For his transfers so far, come on. What more do you want?
No,
I can't disagree with that.
I'm triggered. Yeah, I'm triggered with this A. I'm triggered.
Right. Well, I'm a very lenient marker.
Okay. The individual transfers. Do you think the general transfer strategy has been an A? So, like, if you
No, not the transfer strategy, but he's not the one that's going for that.
I think that's
the individual players.
Because
I think the fact he's not looked at a CDM properly is what's not getting him an A star.
I don't think you can give him an A without the CDM.
No, but
You still might bring him in.
True. We got time.
The clock is ticking.
right, I'm gonna go with a B+. I'm gonna go with a B+ for that.
She changed it. Okay, what's next?
What other areas are there now? Man management. Come on, that gets an A star. It gets an A because the way you could get an A star is through not having favourites, because that is a little bit annoying sometimes. And what other areas are there really? Coaching wise, that's at a C at the moment. I feel like he could definitely have played Donny in more minutes. He could have played Ahmad in more minutes if he could have coached them the style of football we play a lot quicker. Because I think Donny's a very talented footballer, but in a way, I think sometimes he's too intelligent for the way we play, and that is the problem with putting Donny in that team last year. So I think coaching, in-game management are things he massively needs to work on. Man management and the way he's lifted the club up and his transfers, for me, is why I really like him, to be honest.
I want to pose this question to you guys, because the man management thing is something that Ollie gets a lot of credit for. And even when you have like ex-players and some of his ex-teammates, they will constantly go on about the fact that he's like the nicest guy in the world. And like, I believe that. Like, I genuinely do think like he seems like a really nice, genuine guy. How long is he going to get away with the man management stuff, though? Because you look at some of the scenarios we have with our squad heading into next season, players aren't going to be happy. And we say he's a great man manager because it feels like the atmosphere at the club is, phenomenal. Everybody seems happy. The goalkeeper situation, one of them goalkeepers ain't going to be happy, and both of them are on big wages, so you want to keep those players happy. When it comes to some of the talent on the bench, people like Donny, Lingard, like it seems like Lingard's going to be staying, and he must have been promised time from somewhere. So where's that game time coming from? He needs to be happy. Like there's going to be a couple players, some of these young players as well, who feel like they deserve a chance, and they might actually have a right to feel like they deserve a chance. Like Martial coming back in, he's going to be fighting for his number 9 spot. Greenwood now with Sancho might not be in the starting spot, but he might be feeling, hold on a minute, I'm being compared to Rooney. Like, bloody, I should be getting it. Some people are not going to be happy next season. Like, if now all of a sudden a couple players start getting a bit unsettled, are you just scrapping the whole man management thing? Like, when is it going to be a thing where you're like, how do you separate it? Do you genuinely think he's a good man manager, or is it just like, since nobody's unhappy right now, everything's fine? You get what I'm trying to say here?
I think he's a good man management, honestly.
That's
that's from what I've seen so far. This is the whole point of the show, though. It is all these make or break season. All these things we keep debating on are going to be answered this season, because this season there's no excuses, And his job's not on the, well, it's always on the line when you're a Manchester United manager. But this season, he has to do things to change it, and he has to do stuff to prove he is a top manager. And this is where we're going to see it. He's now got a bigger squad. Lindelof's going to be dropped if we get Varane. Players are going to be dropped, and he needs to start rotating to keep people happy. A lot of things, a lot of answers to our questions are going to happen next season. So this is why people are calling it Ollie's make or break.
Ooh, yeah.
And listen, Levin, yeah. I'll say one thing as well, right? If Manchester United and McDonald's or whatever, you know, when you work there and you need to get them stars on your badge, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got the Luke Shaw star on his badge, because prior to that, you know, Louis van Gaal couldn't get the best out of him. Jose Mourinho treated him insanely for the talent that Luke Shaw was. To stand by him on the sideline and then after he's had a good game say, well, you know, I talked him through this game and that, and you're like, well, what kind of message he's sending out to him? One player, and Jordan's totally right as well with the treatment and the way he's handled the Paul Pogba situation, but the one of Luke Shaw, right? That's the performances he put in for England in the Euros this summer is not down to Gareth Southgate. It's not down to England and their setup. That is down to Manchester United, because Luke Shaw is by far the best left back in the country. In the world, I'll go as far as to say that. You know, he was absolutely sensational. And that excites me as a Manchester United fan for this season, because it's like, if he brings that form and continues that for Manchester United, that's testament to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the way that he's handled Luke Shaw. Yeah,
no, I agree with everything that you guys are saying. And man management, it can only take us so far. In-game management is what will win us titles.
You can't get second place in the Premier League, though, with just man management.
I'm sorry?
You can't get to second place in the Premier League with only man management. You just can't do that.
I'm not here to finish second. I'm here to win trophies and titles. Yeah. So I want someone to take us to that next level. Do you guys remember the pain of Fred in the Champions League running around on a yellow card, booting people all over the pitch?
Yeah.
The whole world knew he was going to get a red card, other than Ollie. Why didn't Ollie drag him off? This is in-game management, guys. You talk about fine margins. It's fine margins between Ollie looking at the game and going, shall I give him another 10 minutes? Is he going to settle down, or shall I drag him off now? Drag him off. And he didn't. So this is where I think, like, he's got to learn. He's got to learn going into this next season.
Well, yeah, and even with that, like, I love that example, because I feel like, I hate saying I feel like all the time, but it's like, you know, a different manager, like what I want from my manager with that Fred situation, I want my manager on the touchline looking at Fred like, are you an idiot, bro? What are you doing? You're on the yellow, relax. Well, I'm going to take you off. Next silly tackle, I'm taking you off. That's what I want my manager doing. Whereas it's like, you know, the camera will pan to Ollie and he's on his touchpad and he's asking, you know, Mike Phelan, like, what are you thinking, Mike? Take him off. Nah, he's all right. It's Freddie boy. He's all right. He won't get a red. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, these are the kind of things, right, where people are saying he needs to be more ruthless, right? Like, it's not. I'm not talking about him selling Lukaku. Like, I hate when people do this as well, because that's another thing, right, where people will go, "What do you mean? Oh, he's not ruthless. He is ruthless. He got rid of Lukaku. A ruthless manager wouldn't get rid of Lukaku." Like, no. Like, I feel people find it hard to separate. Like, if Lukaku's not in his plans, right, because he doesn't fit the style of play he wants to play, him getting rid of him, that's not him being ruthless. Him being ruthless to me is when it goes against what he actually wants, right? When he does have these players who are his favorites who aren't performing, and he actually makes a decision to get rid of them, or, you know, to sub them out and make those in-game decisions a lot better. And that's something that I don't feel he's done. And I want to know from you guys whether you are agreeing with me on the ruthless thing. Do you think he's ruthless? Do you think he's not ruthless? Beth, I'll start with you.
I don't think he's ruthless. No, I don't. I think. This is the thing, though, because I do want my manager to be ruthless, but I don't think he is quite there yet. But again, the more you lose, the more ruthless you're going to get, which is happening. So I think, as I said, through these experiences, he should learn to become more ruthless. I also think ruthlessness isn't something you can teach. But I tell you something, I don't think he's as nice and smiley as everyone makes out, because when we're losing the game, he goes in that changing room and manages to get something out of them players, like massively. Like he doesn't go in there and say, "Oh, well done, lads," and suddenly next thing you know we're winning 4-2 from 2-0 down. Like he must have a serious side to him as well. I think some of his decisions with substitutions and not subbing his favourites off aren't ruthless. No. I think selling Lukaku was quite a big decision because he'd only just come into the club and he thought, this isn't the way I want to play with this striker. And that is a big decision when he came in for the amount of money that he did. And he was known as a very good striker. Yes, he wasn't doing it in Manchester United, but we've seen what he's doing now over in Italy. So that is a big decision to make. So in my opinion, that part of it is ruthless. I just think, like Jordan was saying before, his in-game decisions are not yet. And that's something that massively needs to improve.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, right? Because, you know, you said you don't think he's ruthless. And I'm sure many of us will agree. Kev, do you look at him and think he can be? Because we're talking about next season being make or break. You know, that's going to be a trait he will need if he's going to be successful, in my eyes. Do you think that's something he can actually add to his repertoire as a manager over this next year?
I think he will have to, mate. Otherwise, he will be shown the door. Listen. We've just touched on Lukaku. I think that was a big decision. I think he did work out that from what you hear behind the scenes, Lukaku off the field and that, you know, whatever he was spouting, not good for the dressing room, not good for team morale. So Solskjaer made that decision to get rid of Lukaku. Sanchez was another massive one where we were spoon-fed that shit by Solskjaer saying, oh, he's going to be coming back, he's going to be playing this season. You know, he never was. It was just to make sure that Manchester United got some kind of fee for Sanchez. He was gone. And again, I will just say that he is trying to build his own team. I've seen a comment before in the comment section, can't remember who the name was, but somebody said, touching on a point before that I said about Luke Shaw playing well for England, they said, why does Harry Maguire play better for England, right? Plain and simply, I'm not sure who said that. I will just say it is because he plays with John Stones and not Victor Lindelof. And this is the whole reason that Manchester United are looking at getting Varane in. If Manchester United get Varane in, right, massive signing for Manchester United. I cannot say how big that would be. I still know that we'll all be here beating the drum, saying we need a central defensive midfielder, but that breaks up big things at Manchester United. I said it the other week, probably breaks up the Fred and McTominay partnership if you can get somebody like Varane in alongside Maguire.
Jordan, do you think he has that ability? And do you think it's going to be, you know, the key, you know, factor to whether he's successful or not? Or is it something else for you?
I agree with what Beth said, that you can't teach ruthlessness. I think it's a mean streak that is in you. And I just don't think that is Ollie. And that's not a bad thing, because what he lacks in that department, he's good at the whole man management thing. And there's certain players that perform better when you put an arm around them, you fill in with confidence, they go out and they perform better. However, there are other players that need that, not fear, but they need that respect in a different way, where they think, I've got to go and face this manager at half-time or at full-time and give an explanation as to why I've been piss poor today. And I don't think that they look at Ollie and they see that. And for me, I feel like you need that to compete at the top level. If you look at the elite managers, they all have that mean streak. And that mean streak on the touchline is worth an extra X amount of points, because you lean on the referee, you lean on the linesman, and you grind that out of people. You grind that out of them. I don't think Ollie has that about him. So for me, this is why I always say I feel like Ollie has took us as far as he can take us, and I feel like again, what Kev said, I don't want to hit the reset button. I don't want somebody to come in and smash everything, all the good things that Ollie's done. I don't want that. I feel like whoever comes in has to complement what Ollie's done and take us that extra 10, 15%
Jordan,
to win titles.
Jordan, Jose Mourinho, would you say he had a ruthless streak?
There's
man management, decisions he made. Why didn't that work out for him at Old Trafford then? Do you not think that should have been a job where he went in, egos, biggest club in the world? You know, I thought it was made. Yeah. You know, a match made in heaven. Should have gone in there, been able to deal with top players, been able to manage some egos, because he's egotistical himself. Never happened to him, did it really?
I think the game's moved on from the Mourinho style of management. I think he's too militant and too runs too much of a dictatorship. I think the balance when you look at Klopp, where those players will run through brick walls for him, but also if one of those players messes up on the pitch, you can see the way he digs them out. Very similar to Pep. Like they have that mean streak, but they can also do the opposite and put their arm around a player and fill him with confidence. For me, Mourinho isn't that guy. And for me, Ollie has a percentage of it, but he doesn't have the other side of it.
Yeah, definitely agree. Like you're seeing people like Klopp will sub off Mane, and Mane will publicly get pissed off about it, but like Klopp's not worrying about that when he's thinking about making that decision. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I mean when I say ruthlessness, Kevin, because we're not talking about Mourinho, because like, you know, Jordan's right. Like the game's moved away from that kind of manager. Players aren't receptive to that kind of manager anymore in the way they once were, right? And so, you know, there does need to be a balance. And I think, if I'm being honest, Ollie probably has the better side of the balance. I think being the nice guy definitely helps him more than being a bit of a prick. But, you know, it is about, you know, knowing when and how to sort of manage that as a whole. Look, I'll be honest, right? Because I'm seeing a lot of people in chat, and it's getting me mad, right? It's getting me mad because I think people are very much misinterpreting a lot of what we're sort of talking about here when we're talking about ruthlessness and all these kind of things. Obviously, so many different components make a manager a great manager, right? And since ruthlessness has been one of them, the ones we've discussed, I do want to know from each of you, what is that one thing that you value the most, like a quality from your manager? Because clearly everybody, everyone quantifies different things differently from what I've seen in chat, but I don't know. I think everybody probably has that one thing they want in their manager specifically. And if Ollie has it, you know, let me know. And if you don't think he has it, let me know. But what is that one thing you want from your manager? Beth?
Winning mentality. And I think Ollie has it. I think he has to have it to have been the way he was as a player, been able to come on as that substitute. Sir Alex used to tell him on the bench, it's like what he wanted from him, and he'd be ready to do that. And I think he is an intelligent player, and I think he is adapting that to his management style. People say Ollie isn't a winner. I just don't think he has all the tools to be the successful managers that's winning trophies so far. I think he's gaining the tools, and I think he's growing and adapting the more he is on the job. But I think that winning mentality stays with you, and I do think he has that. You can tell after every defeat how he feels. He might come out smiling to the cameras, but he is a winner. And I think that's why he was so kind of, he always goes on about the characters he has in the dressing room and things like that. And he did appoint Maguire as captain, and people had a lot of questions about that, a lot of questions, but he stuck by him. And we've seen with Maguire over the last few months, his winning mentality, and he saw that in him from early on. And I think winners see winners. And he's brought in quite a few of them so far. I do think, and
yeah.
For me personally, that was just a glitch. People might not agree with me, but that's my personal preference. And I do think Ollie will win something. People might come back and say when he gets sacked, "Oh, Beth was wrong." Well, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's just my personal preference. I do see him being able to win something with this club if he is given the time to do so.
Kev, would you agree with that?
I would totally agree. Or if I'm going to be different, I'll say one word: leader. For me, as a manager, you have to be a leader. If nobody's on side with you and not buying into your ideas and what you want to do, then ultimately you are going to fail. But if people respect you, which I do think it's hard not to be able to respect Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. See a lot of disrespect for him on Twitter and stuff. All this bullshit that all he's famous for is, you know, like scoring a tap-in against Bayern Munich in 1999, you know, to win the treble, which was ultimately the greatest night ever of my life. But yeah, people just go, well, he just tapped the ball in, you know, and just won that match, and that's all he's famous for. The disrespect towards the man sometimes is just insane. And I know there'll be people in the comment section now call me deluded, whatever, you know. Jesus, man. You know, he's the manager of Manchester United. Whether you like it or not, stop the agendas. Stop all this Martial FC, Pogba FC bollocks. The only thing you need to support is Manchester United FC, right? Forget the player things, this, that. He is the manager of Manchester United, whether you like it or not. He's here until he gets sacked. That's all you need to know. We're going into the new season with him. And again, all this shit that Players don't want to play for him. Harry Maguire signed, Wan-Bissaka, Jadon Sancho's the signed, Cavani, but yeah, you know what I mean? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can't attract top players, apparently.
I love the rants from Kev. That was good. We hit a nerve there, and you went on one, but there was a lot of gems in there. I like that. What about you, Jordan? What's the one thing for you that a top manager needs?
Yeah, I think in a day and age where there's so much money in the game, I think it is man management and managing these young players who come in and they have everything at their feet straight away, the endorsement deals and so on and so forth, and the whole social media thing now. It is about man management and getting these players focused on the game and not their interests away from football. And that's where I feel like Ollie he's so close to being that guy. There's just elements of his management that really let him down. But for me, one of the greatest strengths that you need to succeed in modern day football, Ollie possesses in abundance.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I think the big thing for me is just like, not having fear, right? Not being afraid to lose, right? Because I think part of having a winning mentality is being able to put everything on the line, right? And having that sort of courage to be able to put everything on the line and not be afraid of, what happens once the whistle blows. You're just putting everything out there on the pitch. And even as a manager, right? Like, having that sort of mentality. Look, I think, someone in chat put it perfectly. At the end of the day, Ollie's success is our success as a club. And that's why I think, Kev, you put it perfectly, right? Where it's like, regardless of what you think of him, at the end of the day, you need to hope he's successful, because if he's successful, then it means that we're successful as a club. And that's the most important thing. I do want to talk more about the team, though, in particular, because obviously the new season is starting up soon. We've had the preseason games. I'm not sure if you guys have watched, all of the games so far and what you've made of it. I try not to analyze too much into preseason games because, you look at some of the players that are out there, they're not people who are going to be playing week in, week out. But, I want to know what you guys have, thought of the game so far, and what players are you looking forward to seeing coming into this next season? Because obviously, start of the season, it's most likely Rashford's outright with, recovering from the surgery. And so there'll be a mix up there on the left. Maybe we'll have Martial and then Sancho on the right. Maybe we'll have Sancho on the left, Greenwood on the right. There's lots to potentially do there. And then there's obviously been all the talk about changing system to 4-3-3 from a 4-2-3-1. Kev, what are you sort of looking forward to on the football side of things? And is there anything you've noticed in pre-season that gets you excited?
I watched the other game. I didn't see the QPR one, so I'm certainly not going to try and blag my way through that and say, it was, a disastrous result and that. Seeing the result and not seeing the goals. What I would be looking forward to this season, and how could you not be, is Manchester United finally signing what I would class as a replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo, who left Manchester United in 2009. It's almost unbelievable that a club of United's stature has left it this late. We have been linked. Well, we were linked to Sancho last season. It was out there that we were going to sign him. This lad is brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And I know I had a little bit of a ding-dong with Ricky, who was on the other week. Ricky's predicted that after 3 months, Sancho will be nowhere near this first team at Manchester United, which I don't even know how you come to that conclusion, because he's 21 years old. I know players, and you can say, right, he's played for Borussia Dortmund, and we look at the previous players that we signed from there, like Kagawa. It was the previous one. My mind's gone blank. Mkhitaryan. Players like that have come and you're like, they've ripped it up there. They'll come here. For me, it's different with Jadon Sancho. And I've seen enough from him playing for England to suggest that he will be absolutely brilliant at Manchester United. And the options that you have up front now are really exciting. It's like before you sign Sancho, Rashford, yes, if he goes and has to have this operation and he's out till October, all right then, sound. We've still got Martial, Greenwood, Sancho, mixing it up in a front three, however you want to do it. Cavani up top. Looking forward to it, man. How could you not be? And I'm touching wood here as well, big time as well. I really want this Varane, signing to get over the line. And the longer it goes on, as Manchester United fans, if you think back as long as Wesley Sneijder transfer sagas like that, man, you just know at the last hour you're going to get your fingers burnt, and you're like, you know, you'll read tomorrow Varane's just signed a new bumper deal at Real Madrid, and you'll be like, no. But hopefully, fingers crossed, man.
Yeah, I tried to stay away from the transfer stuff as much as possible, just because it's been such a circus. Jordan, how you feeling? What are you most looking forward to with next season?
Yeah, I agree with Kev. I'm really excited about the season ahead. I think the thought of our front line all interchanging, swapping from one side to the other, that pace, that counter-attacking. Like you said, we haven't had it since Ronaldo, that blistering counter-attack. I miss that. And that for me was what, as a child growing up, watching Manchester United, that's what used to excite me. You know, a ball would come in for a corner against us, and there was always a chance that we'd score off the back of it. We will have that with Sancho. And yeah, Dan, Ricky saying about him not being in the first team is just outrageous, isn't it? I love Ricky, but that's outrageous. I think he is an absolute baller, and he is going to light the Premier League up this season. I really do.
Do you know what? I actually think Ricky is going to like Sancho when he starts playing. I think he's going to like him. I actually do. I think he's going to change. He's going to.
Oh.
Whoa.
What baffles me as well is that even if a player does come in for like nearly 80 million, even if he was bad, which he isn't, you're still going to play him. He's going to be forced to play him anyway. So he will be in the first team, but I think Ricky's going to end up liking him. He looks after the ball quite well, I think Sancho does. And I think he has got things that Ricky likes. Sancho
is used to providing assists to an out-and-out goal scorer. Imagine Sancho feeding a fit Cavani. That's poetry. I can't wait to see that in front of a full house at Old Trafford.
That's the thing. I mean, he's not had a right-hand side for so long. Like, Greenwood did a good job, but he's not an out-and-out right winger. He's a forward player that's been moved onto the right-hand side. He's not like a crosser of the ball. And Jadon Sancho, he's a creative right winger. Yeah. And plus he can play number 10, he can play left wing. And Ollie's building this forward line that's so interchangeable. And I think Jadon Sancho genuinely was like the missing piece to the puzzle. I genuinely do believe that. And I think all these doubts about him, have you seen his stats over the last few seasons in the top 5 leagues? I know he's in the Bundesliga and it is a different kettle of fish, the Premier League, but surely you can't have them stats over the top 5 leagues at 20 years old and come and not do anything. And plus, when he plays for England, I think he's played some good games for us as well. So I'm so excited to watch him, especially at Old Trafford. I hope he plays on that first game.
Yeah. Honestly, it's going to be mad because, you know, I think you guys both touched on a brilliant part where it's like he does finally add balance to the way we build up an attack. Like, we focus so much of our play on the left because of how brilliant Luke Shaw's been, because of, you know, how great Marcus Rashford is. And now we actually have a threat on the right. And what that does for Wan-Bissaka as well, where he has a lot less, you know, offensive responsibilities, right? He can play much more of like a supportive role rather than being, you know, everybody's waiting for Wan-Bissaka to try and make some first-time brilliant cross, which isn't his game, right? You know, maybe he'll get there eventually, but that just isn't him. So I think, you know, it's a really exciting thing. We got a chat here from Chris who says, if Man United get top-class CDM, then our team has a strong chance and could win the title. What do you guys think about that? Is that the final piece? Because you know, we are excited to watch our team play, right? We are all excited to watch us play, and I think there's reason to be excited. It's going to be. I genuinely do think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think Sancho really changes things for us. But the CDM, is that the missing piece? Is that the piece that makes, you know, 21 a real reality? If you're smiling there, I think,
Jordan, do you want to go first, or
no? That's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. We need Ollie to manage the squad and make the changes to win a title. So signing one player is not going to be enough. That coaching setup and the manager have got to step up as well.
I agree, and I think something that I see a good CDM really does for us is it gives us different options. It allows you to play Bruno and Donny possibly in a 4-3-3. It allows you to play Bruno and Pogba with a CDM in a 4-3-3. You can still play the pivot if you want to play that way. It gives more solidarity to the back four, and it gives you an extra outlet on the pitch because currently, obviously, we're using 2 players to kind of do one job, and it just gives you that extra something. I still think we can play well without one, but I think it would take us to the next level massively. And even though I've said before, obviously you've seen that I've got excited and I think the transfers are an A, and I'm going to go back to, I do think they're an A because of Bruno Fernandes.
You've got sunstroke. You've got sunstroke.
I do think a CDM is the next step, but the reason I don't always talk about it and I don't always get like overly excited about it is personally, I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, and I just don't see the point of sitting here speaking ages about something that I personally don't see happening. If it does happen, great, over the moon. I'd be so excited because it just does give us that extra level. But we've heard so little about it because even these players we're getting linked to now, like Saul, he's not an out-and-out CDM realistically. But if he could do it for us, then it'd be great. But I just don't know if I see it this season. Hopefully, though.
Do you agree, Kev?
Totally, mate. Do you know what? I'm easily pleased, me, believe it or not. So if we get Varane, which again, I'm banging the drum on again, bring Varane in. Again, I've just said, and I said it on the previous show, man, it breaks up Fred and McTominay. Now, this is where it comes in and you're like, well, where's Paul Pogba's head at? What's Raiola feeding in his ear? You know, PSG next year, free transfer, blah, 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 blah. If he decides to commit to Manchester United, which I don't think he will, but I do want him to, you know, imagine having him sat in there. And then if that breaks up Fred and McTominay, you know, even if you had McTominay playing a role in next to Pogba, you know, as them two, Pogba pinning balls left, right, you've got Sancho right, Martial left, Cavani up top, Bruno Fernandes, you know, Rashford. It just looks totally, totally different. So for me, Varane is the main one. But if I'm going to be the spoiled kid, I'm saying, well, yeah, get me Varane and go and get me a central defensive midfielder as well.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Guys, I'll be honest, guys. You know, I've just been watching because the time it hit 9 o'clock, and I was just wondering how many people we lose to Love Island, and
I'm one of them. I'm off now, guys. Sorry.
Oh no, you hate to see it. Nah, honestly though, I think it's been a great show. I think we're all looking forward to next season and what sort of, you know, I think there's a lot of question marks that need to be answered because at the end of the day, even with the contract, you know, being given to Ollie, you know, we're going right back to the start of the show here, but it's like, it doesn't mean he's in the job for the next 4 or so years, right? Like he still has to put in performances. There can't be any complacency. He still has to go at it. And I like to hope that he will. And so can't wait to be having these conversations during the actual season when we have games to react to and whatnot. It's going to be a lot of fun. But it's been a pleasure being able to have all of you guys on. You know, where can we find all of you one by one? You know, where can we find you? Where can we contact you? Show you guys some love. Beth, I'm gonna start off.
At BethTMUFC on Twitter. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Jordan.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoy Love Island.
At Jordan Valley's Twitter or Jordan Valley's UK Instagram, get in touch.
The man with the van.
My telephone number is not at Kevin Ashford 7 on Twitter, Kevin Ashford 7 on Instagram, and all the usual stuff. So thanks very much. Enjoyed that, man.
Love to see. I'm sure you're off to watch Love Island, Kev. You can catch me on 11TK at 11TK on all social media. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all the super chats as well. We appreciate the mods. Be sure to like, share, comment on the video as well. We'll see you guys all soon.